So breaking that conditioning of abuse is really, really hard. And unfortunately, the very first thing you need to do is accept that it happened. I made excuses and reasoning for years that it was me. If I had been better behaved, if I'd have been quieter, if I'd have been stiller, if I'd have done the dishes faster, if I'd have taken care of my siblings more, if I had been whoever it was that they were trying to get me to be, then a lot of that abuse wouldn't happen. The problem is that my other siblings got abused too. So it wasn't necessarily a question of me. And a lot of the abuse came when I was doing something else somewhere else and being fetched to be beaten, basically. So you have to accept that there are mean people, and sometimes they're your parents. The mean people had to come from somewhere, right? That's step one, and that's really hard to do. Part of the issue there is also the childhood amnesia, or I've read several different titles. So because of the conditioning that happens when you're a child, and the mix of all of the other things you're learning too, you're reading, you're writing, you're dressing, I cannot stress enough. I think if we actually paid attention to everything that a child learned, we would think that they're pretty friggin' impressive. You know, going to school and learning a language, doing all of this stuff at such a young age. And especially because a lot of people can't even learn how to, program their new phone. So when we deal with grown-ups that don't learn new skills, the fact that a child can learn so many things in such a short period of time is extremely impressive. But because of all of these things, and you're learning all of this other stuff too, a lot of times childhood gets kind of put back here. And then you get into the adolescence, your hormones are running wild, your body is changing, acne, new emotions, new stresses, new strains. So a lot of people don't remember child abuse until they're older. And it comes up in nightmares, it comes up in terrors, and it shows up in flashbacks, which usually take you back to the emotions of being a child. So I definitely recommend journaling, 100%. So if you start having bad dreams or weird dreams, they're not always nightmares. Sometimes they're just weird. And you start getting surges of emotions. Just whether you're having a full-on flashback or you're having just a trigger and a reaction, and you just feel like something is off right now and you're not sure what and where and how that's happening. Try to pay attention to that. Again, journal, write it down. This is what happened. This is where I was at. Be aware of your surroundings. Check out your peripherals. Check to see what's in the area. If there is a smell, a lot of times we don't notice there's a new smell in the room. So if there was, in this moment of triggering, there was a moment where you went, what is that smell? Write that down. Keep track of that. That's really important. So because we've got all of this other learning in childhood, right? Reading, writing, arithmetic, history, science, body anatomy, this is a nose, this is an eye. When things happen and we're trying to remember, especially if you're being tested, right? There's a lot of tests, math tests, English tests, punctuation and spelling and all of that. But so when the abuse is happening at home, a lot of times our senses will remember the sights and the smells and the things in the surrounding, such as if you were beaten with a hairbrush, and so maybe you've never used that type of hairbrush, but you're at a store or something, and out of your peripheral vision, you catch that type of hairbrush that you've avoided. Belts are a big one. A lot of people use belts to beat their children. So a lot of grown-ups don't use belts. They don't want a belt. They don't want to be around a belt. Or they keep one handy, which is a whole new issue. The smells of the house and what was around, even though you may not be able to place it, your memories remember it. So if you're around a smell that was prominent at the same time you were being beaten, let's say you were taken to the garage to be beaten, or you were taken to another area that has a different set of smells, you may actually trigger when you get around those smells and not recognize that your body is picking up on the time that you were someplace that things were. So accept the fact that you were, and start taking a note of things that might have happened in your peripheral, things surrounding you. Was there animals or not animals? Was there things? Try to place those types of things, and if you can, write them down. And the next time you're feeling triggered, go, oh, okay, there was a hairbrush. Those show up in dreams a lot. Well, we were beaten by hairbrushes. So I guess for me that's common. But yeah, write those things down and take a note of it. And that will help you recondition some of that training. If you're starting to recognize your triggers and you are starting to realize that, okay, that happened. This was what was in the area. I have just seen that item or smelt that smell, or I've heard that phrase before. Sometimes things will come over the radio or TV too. That's like a direct quote from one of your abusers. So it's like, okay, that's why there was a rise there. Okay. And then you can adjust the emotions. You're like, that was just on TV. That was just at the grocery store. That was my, grown up that was beating me is not here. And I'm not going to be hurt anymore. That's something really important to remind yourself, is that you are a grown up now. You feel like a little kid when you get there. That emotion surge is like, you feel that helplessness and that dependence and that. But remind yourself, I'm a grown up now. Nothing is hurting me. And you just have to keep doing that. When you trigger, just keep reminding yourself, that was then, this is now. And I'm camping and I'm losing the light. So I'm going to call it a night and pick up again tomorrow. So